Did you know James Mays' car collection is worth well over $1 million? And includes some of the most legendary machines ever built. We're talking about a 605 horsepower Ferrari, a 186 mile per hour flat 12 supercar, and even a rare hydrogen-powered sedan that's ahead of its time. But it's not just about speed. Mays' garage also features some of the quirkiest, most unexpected cars you'll ever see. Today, we're counting down 12 untouchable cars in James Mays' garage, featuring exotic beauties, high-performance beasts, and a few head-scratchers that only he could love. Let's jump in. Number 12. Ferrari 458 Speciale. Oh, we're starting with a bang. Or should we say, a roar. Let's talk about the Ferrari 458 Speciale, the car that made even Captain Slow himself, James May, go a little fast. This isn't your everyday flashy supercar. It's a 605 horsepower beast with a V8 that loves to rev up to 9,000 RPMs, designed to rule both the road and the racetrack. Now James May, he's more known for his love of leisurely drives, famously saying he likes to drive at sub-warp speeds, but the 458 Speciale, it made him break his own rules. In fact, he was so smitten, he begged Ferrari for one last unit after they stopped production. Talk about dedication, or should we say, desperation. This car marked the end of an era for Ferrari, being the last of the naturally aspirated V8s before the turbo era took over. But Ferrari didn't just give it raw power, they threw in their innovative side slip angle control system. Imagine, even someone like May, who's more about taking it slow, can now push this beast without ending up in a spin. 0 to 60 in just 2.8 seconds and a top speed of 202 miles per hour. And those aerodynamics? Active flaps that adjust like magic to give you that grip and speed. James has confessed, this is one of the few modern Ferraris he truly vibes with. It's not just about speed, it's about finesse. For a man who once took a Fiat Panda on an epic journey across England just for laughs, loving the 458 Speciale tells you everything you need to know about this car. Number 11. Porsche 911 Carrera S. If there's one car that embodies James Mays' driving ethos, it's the Porsche 911. Known for his disdain for the showy and the brutish, May champions cars that are proper, engineered to perfection and built with longevity in mind. Meet the 997 generation Porsche 911 Carrera S in a pristine white. A car so loved by May, it's become his garage's anchor. He's humorously floated the idea of selling it, but there's a catch. His partner refuses to let go of it, and who could fault her? Beneath its sleek hood lies a 3.8-liter flat six, a testament to German engineering prowess, churning out 385 horsepower. While it might not match the brute force of the Ferrari 458 Speciale, the 911 is all about finesse. It's about achieving that perfect balance, that exquisite handling, and delivering a driving experience as precise as a well-made Swiss watch. This Carrera S can blast from 0 to 60 miles per hour in a mere 4.3 seconds, hitting a top speed of 188 miles per hour. Yet, what really sets the 997 apart is its status as the last bastion of the mechanical 911 experience before the digital driver aids took over. This was the end of an era for the pure 911 feel, resonating deeply with May's preference for analog simplicity over electronic complexity. Here's the twist. James wasn't always a Porsche enthusiast. In his early Top Gear days, he dismissed the 911 as a beetle with delusions of grandeur. But time behind the wheel of various 911s changed his tune. He grew to admire its evolution, a car that has matured over decades while retaining its core identity. It's versatile too, perfect for a long road trip, zippy on back roads, and dependable as a daily driver. In May's words, it's a bit of me. But while the 911 speaks to May's pragmatic, sportier side, the next car in his collection is anything but predictable. It's a wild card, showing that even the methodical James May knows how to embrace the fun in driving. Number 10. Alpine A110. When James May first drove the Alpine A110 on the Grand Tour, he wasn't expecting to be blown away, but he was. This featherweight French sports car isn't about brute force. It's about pure, unfiltered driving joy. With a chassis so well balanced it feels telepathic, and a curb weight of just 2,432 pounds, the A110 dances through corners like few cars can. May has often said, "Speed has never interested me." Really, it's just the noise and the drama of a fast car. The A110 delivers that drama. not through horsepower but through precision and balance. It was a love at first drive. May first got behind the wheel of an A110 while filming the Grand Tour and was immediately sold. Not long after, one found its way into his garage, and it's easy to see why. This thing weighs just 2,432 pounds, making it one of the lightest modern sports cars on the road today. That's about 600 pounds lighter than a Porsche Cayman. Powering it is a 1.8-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, producing 249 horsepower. Now, that might not sound like much compared to the 605 horsepower Ferrari 458 Speciale, but here's the catch. The Alpine doesn't need crazy horsepower. Thanks to its perfectly balanced chassis, mid-engine layout, and razor-sharp steering, it dances through corners in a way that few cars can match. May has always had a thing for cars that feel great to drive, rather than just being about raw numbers. In fact, he once said, "Speed has never interested me really, it's just the noise and the drama of a fast car." And the A110? It delivers that drama without needing to be a 200-mile-per-hour hypercar. But while the Alpine is all about old-school driving joy, with a modern twist, the next car in May's collection takes things to a completely different direction, one that's fast, silent, and completely futuristic. Number 9. Tesla Model S 100D. James May isn't exactly known for his love of modern technology. He famously prefers buttons over touchscreens, but even he couldn't resist the futuristic allure of the Tesla Model S 100D. Unlike the Alpine A110, which thrills with its analog charm, the Tesla is all about effortless whisper-quiet speed. With 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 4 seconds and a range of over 300 miles, it's both shockingly fast and impressively practical. May once joked that he liked the Model S because it makes no noise, which means I can actually hear myself think for once. While he still has reservations about EVs, this Tesla proved that sometimes the future isn't all that bad. Number 8. Toyota Mirai. James May has never been afraid to take the road less traveled when it comes to cars, and his choice of hydrogen power proves it. While most people argue over gasoline versus electric, May decided to try something completely different, the Toyota Mirai, a car that literally emits water instead of exhaust fumes. Hydrogen fuel cell vehicles are rare, and yet May has owned not one, but 2 of them, both the first-generation Mirai and its more refined second-gen successor. Why? Because James has always been fascinated by engineering solutions that challenge the norm. The Mirai isn't just about being environmentally friendly, it's also surprisingly practical. Unlike most electric cars that take hours to charge, the Mirai refuels in just a few minutes, just like a regular gas-powered car. And with a range of over 400 miles, it can outlast many EVs on long trips. May has described the Mirai as a bit of an experiment, but it's clear that he sees potential in hydrogen tech. It's silent, smooth, and requires zero compromise when it comes to driving experience. Whether it will ever become mainstream is up for debate, but one thing is certain, James May loves a car that makes you think. From a car that cleans the air to a luxury sedan that screams classic British style, the next car in May's collection is about as different from the Mirai as it gets. Number 7. Saab 9.5 Aero. If there's one thing James May loves, it's a car with character, and few brands have more of that than Saab. While the Swedish company is no longer making cars, its legacy lives on in models like the Saab 9.5 Aero, a car that blends practicality, turbocharged performance, and a healthy dose of quirkiness. Unlike most luxury sedans of its time, the 9.5 Aero wasn't just about comfort. It had serious turbocharged punch under the hood. The 2.3-liter turbo 4-cylinder produced 250 horsepower and a massive 258 foot-pounds of torque, which could surge from 273 foot-pounds with an overboost function. That meant it could out-accelerate some sports cars of the early 2000s while still being an executive cruiser. But what made it special? Saab engineering. From the aircraft-inspired dashboard to the center console ignition key, because Saab refused to be like everyone else, the 9.5 Aero was filled with unique design choices that made it stand out. Even the seats were developed with help from orthopedic specialists, ensuring long drives were as comfortable as possible. James has always had a soft spot for underdog brands, and Saab was one of the biggest underdogs in the automotive world. Owning a 9.5 Aero isn't just about having a cool car. It's about keeping a piece of automotive history alive. But while the Saab 9.5 Aero is a relic of a company that no longer exists, the next car in May's collection is from a brand that represents the pinnacle of British luxury. Number 6. Bentley T2. James May isn't just about quirky cars and high-performance machines. He also appreciates pure automotive luxury, and few cars define old-school British elegance better than the Bentley T2. This isn't the kind of car you throw around a racetrack or test for 0 to 60 times. It's built for smooth, effortless cruising. Under the hood sits a 6.75-liter V8, a massive engine designed for one purpose: making speed feel completely irrelevant. No drama, no fuss, just silent, refined power. The Bentley T2, produced between 1977 and 1980, was the updated version of the original T-Series. It shared much of its design with the Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow, but with Bentley's signature more driver-focused approach. With a hydro-pneumatic suspension, power steering, and an automatic transmission, it was the ultimate gentleman's express. May has always valued comfort and craftsmanship in a car, and the Bentley T2 delivers both in excess. The interior is wrapped in fine leather and wood veneer, with the kind of old-world craftsmanship that modern luxury cars struggle to replicate. This car is proof that James doesn't just love cars that perform, he also loves cars that make you feel like royalty. But while the Bentley T2 is all about grace and elegance, the next car in his collection has a much tougher and more imposing personality. Number 5. Rolls-Royce Phantom. For most people, a Bentley is already the peak of luxury, but for James May, there was still one step higher: the Rolls-Royce Phantom. Unlike most of the cars in his collection, this one isn't about speed, handling, or quirky engineering. This is about presence. The Phantom isn't just a car, it's a statement. It doesn't rush anywhere, it arrives. Step inside and you're met with an interior so refined, it makes 5-star hotels look underwhelming. Every detail is handcrafted, from the thick carpets to the wood veneer that takes days to perfect. The cabin is designed to be completely silent, isolating its passengers from the outside world in a way that only a Rolls-Royce can. But don't mistake this for a car that just glides along. Under the hood is a 6.75-liter V12, effortlessly delivering 563 horsepower, and yet, you barely hear a whisper of it. The Phantom doesn't accelerate, it gains momentum with grace. May has often been drawn to cars that balance engineering and tradition, and the Phantom is the ultimate example of that. In a world where luxury is often defined by touchscreen overload and artificial driving modes, Rolls-Royce keeps things old school, but better. From quirky Saabs to cutting-edge Teslas, May's collection is full of unexpected choices. But sometimes, there's no substitute for classic British luxury. Of course, James May isn't just about smooth, quiet rides. The next car in his garage is a classic British saloon that's a bit more down-to-earth and just as charming. Number 4. Triumph 2000. James May has driven some of the fastest and most expensive cars in the world, but sometimes simplicity wins. Enter the Triumph 2000, a car that doesn't need speed, luxury, or flashy design to earn its place in his garage. This classic British saloon might seem ordinary at first glance, but to May, it represents something far more important. An era when cars were built to last, without unnecessary gimmicks. Launched in 1963, the Triumph 2000 was designed to offer affordable luxury. It wasn't trying to be a Rolls-Royce, but it still delivered a smooth, comfortable ride thanks to its inline-six engine and a well-tuned suspension. It was a car for real people, a proper family saloon that could still feel special on long drives. May has always been an advocate for honest cars, the kind that don't pretend to be more than they are, and the Triumph 2000 is exactly that. It's not the fastest, the most powerful, or the rarest car in his collection, but it does something many modern cars fail to do. It just works. For James, the Triumph 2000 is a connection to British motoring history, a time when practicality and craftsmanship went hand in hand. It's not about turning heads, it's about enjoying the drive. But while this car keeps things humble and simple, the next one in May's collection is something completely different, a quirky little machine that might surprise you. Number 3. Datsun 120Y. James May has owned Ferraris, Rolls-Royces, and high-tech EVs, but sometimes his favorite cars are the ones most people wouldn't look twice at. Case in point, the Datsun 120Y. If you were around in the 1970s, chances are you either drove one, knew someone who did, or saw them everywhere. This wasn't a car built for speed or luxury. It was built to be cheap, reliable, and efficient. and that's exactly why May appreciates it. With a 1.2-liter engine producing just 69 horsepower, the 120Y wasn't going to set any land speed records, but it sipped fuel, refused to break down, and cost next to nothing to maintain, qualities that made it a global bestseller. While muscle cars and exotic sports cars stole the headlines, the Datsun 120Y quietly became one of the most important cars of its time, helping millions of people afford their first new car. James has always been fascinated by the cars that shaped everyday life, not just the ones that filled posters. And the Datsun 120Y is one of those cars, a machine that got the job done, no fuss, no drama. It's proof that you don't need horsepower or luxury to make a car interesting. Sometimes, the best cars are the ones that just work. But while the 120Y represents humble motoring at its finest, the next car in May's collection is anything but modest. It's an Italian sports car with a serious racing pedigree. Number 2. Ferrari 308 GTB. James May might not be the typical Ferrari owner. He's more about precision and craftsmanship than raw speed, but when a Ferrari is just right, he knows it. That's why the Ferrari 308 GTB holds a special place in his garage. This isn't just any Ferrari, it's the car that defined an era. First introduced in 1975, the 308 GTB became one of Ferrari's most iconic models, instantly recognizable by its sleek wedge shape, sculpted bodywork, and pop-up headlights. Designed by Pininfarina, it was a car that looked fast even when it was standing still. Under the hood sat a 2.9-liter V8, pushing out 255 horsepower. Modest by today's standards, but more than enough to make the lightweight mid-engine GTB an absolute joy to drive. It could hit 60 miles per hour in around 6 seconds, making it one of the quickest cars of its time. But here's what makes May's 308 GTB special. It was part of Ferrari's first production run, which meant its body was made from fiberglass, or vettoracina in Italian, instead of steel. This early production choice made the car lighter and rarer, as Ferrari soon switched to steel bodies after customer demand. Today, these early fiberglass models are among the most sought-after classic Ferraris. May has always been one to appreciate a car's engineering and historical significance, and the 308 GTB is exactly that. A piece of Ferrari's golden era, a car that balances performance, beauty, and pure driving engagement. But while the Ferrari is a symbol of Italian speed and passion, the next car in May's collection might just be the most unexpected favorite, a tiny, boxy, practical little machine that he adores for all the right reasons. Number 1. Fiat Panda. After Ferraris, Bentleys, and hydrogen-powered machines, you'd think James May's favorite car would be some ultra-rare, fire-breathing hypercar. But no, his most cherished ride is a tiny, boxy hatchback that wouldn't look out of place delivering pizzas. The Fiat Panda. Yes, really. The same man who has driven Bugattis, Lamborghinis, and fighter jets on Top Gear has a soft spot for this humble, no-frills city car. And honestly, are we even surprised? This is the same James May who once drag raced a caravan, built a V8-powered food blender, and drove across Africa in a clapped-out Mercedes. He has never been about the obvious choices. So why the Panda? According to May, cars should serve a purpose, not just be about showing off. And the Panda does exactly that. It's light, fuel-efficient, and completely uninterested in being cool. Forget active aerodynamics, V12 engines, or hand-stitched leather interiors. This car's biggest luxury is a working heater and doors that stay attached. The Fiat Panda was first designed in 1980 by Giorgetto Giugiaro, the same man behind the DeLorean DMC-12 and the BMW M1. But unlike those exotic machines, the Panda was built for the everyday driver, not a time-traveling scientist or a Le Mans racer. It was cheap, easy to fix, and so light that even a small 1.0-liter engine was enough to keep it going. May's personal Panda is a modern version, but it still follows the same philosophy of pure, unapologetic practicality. He has owned it for years and even took one on a grueling cross-Europe journey for a Top Gear special. It survived, proving that sometimes the simplest cars take you the farthest, even when you're being chased by angry locals or stranded on a mountain pass. This car isn't about horsepower, prestige, or insane top speeds. It is about doing what a car is supposed to do, get you from A to B without any fuss. And in James May's world, that makes it just as special as any Ferrari or Rolls-Royce. And that's a wrap on James May's 12 Untouchable Cars, proving passion isn't about price, it's about the drive. Would you swap a supercar for a Panda? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.